Why did Philly get the win?
Philly got the win because Nick Foles was absolutely sensational, because everybody collectively stepped up and they didn't shy away from the moment. And more importantly, they got the victory because the New England Patriots defense took the night off. They picked the worst time of the year to look absolutely putrid. We'll talk about Matt Patricia later on. We'll talk about Bill Belichick later on. You don't start Malcolm Butler. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. These are all things that we're going to get into. But the Philadelphia Eagles were doing everything right. And the real key thing was that 14-play, 75-yard drive over a 7:01 span after New England took the lead 33-32. And the Philadelphia Eagles sat up there, didn't panic. Nick Foles was big time. Obviously, Jeffries and Clement and Blunt and Ajayi and Aguilar, everybody stepped up. It was something beautiful to see. I was panicking because even though I picked the Philadelphia Eagles Friday on radio, I was like, the hell with the Eagles. They're probably going to lose now because Alshon Jeffrey stepped out of the box and guaranteed the victory. That made me very, very nervous. But in the end, what it comes down to is that the big play that needed to be made by Brandon Graham ultimately was made, the strip sack of Tom Brady that was recovered. And ultimately, the Eagles were able to go on to win. Everybody deserves props for the Philadelphia Eagles as far as I'm concerned, even though Tom Brady threw for over 500 yards, and he was sensational himself. The biggest culprit to me, Max Kellerman, was the New England Patriots defense. I'm talking about they were awful as far as I'm concerned. Practically all night long. It was really disappointing to see that.
Before you jump in real quick, I just want to mention you brought up Alshon Jeffrey. He's going to be joining us in just a few moments.
Oh, that's a bit. Alshon Jeffrey showed up to play yesterday, and that was obvious from early in the game. Stephen A., you said all that, and out of all those points, you hit one of them. That was the reason the Eagles won, and that one was the strip sack. That was one of the worst defensive performances by both teams in the history of Super Bowl. I mean, that was not a really well-played game. It was an exciting game. Brendan McCarthy, the pitcher, tweeted, I retweeted it last night, this is a Texas Tech game in the spring. You know, like that was a great, exciting, sloppy college football game that we watched yesterday, but it was incredible and dramatic. And the Eagles won for two reasons. It was so sloppy and there was such a lack of defense on both sides that the first team who made a defensive play won the game. I mean, the Patriots' interception wasn't really a defensive playmaking kind of thing. Offensive player bobbles it, and it was kind of a 50-50 ball to begin with. The first real defensive stop, key defensive play made in that game was the strip sack. That team won the game. So the first time that happened, because there was so little defense played. And then the kind of more global look at it is the Eagles won because Doug Peterson has guts. When you think about that Nick Foles reception after Tom Brady on that trick play dropped the ball, Nick Foles, Peterson draws up. Think about the stakes for a second. In the Super Bowl, on 4th down at the goal line, you draw up a trick play with like levels of deception, and your backup quarterback catches it for the touchdown. Considering the stakes, that was it was the funnest play I think called in Super Bowl history. Like I think that's the best way to describe it. It was the most fun you could, and it took such guts.
It was bold too, right, by Peterson? Yeah.
Yes, it was Peterson's guts consistently, which is interesting because Schwartz seemed to lack those same guts that his head coach had. Schwartz's defense, they didn't blitz. I mean, at a certain point, why aren't you blitzing? Are you afraid that New England's going to score even quicker? How much quicker could New England have scored on you? Send an extra guy or two, because that defensive front four was getting nothing on, I mean, no pressure on Brady. They didn't touch him. Forget about sack him until the strip sack. They didn't touch him. So the two reasons that the Eagles won that game is they were the first team to make a real defensive play. That won them the game. And basically, generally, Doug Peterson's guts. That's why the Eagles won.